Okay, you can see how easy it is to configure the RE2 for different size displays. If I now show you how easy it is to plug a keyboard and a mouse, and this is one I use when I go out on the road, so nice and small, and the tracker ball's built into it with the switches, and straight away you can see that the RE2's recognise the USB device. I can double click and I can go back and play the file that I was playing on the 5.7-inch display before, and the RE2 will handle all of the bits and pieces, and you can see that all of a sudden what was a rather small screen is rather larger now. It's framing it based on the file resolution you can see there. Wait till it gets to something a little bit more interesting. There you go. Whether you're Spider-Man fans or not, I'm sure you'll appreciate the quality of the board. Interesting thing at the moment is that whilst it looks like the RE2 will be working quite hard to decode this information, it's actually the ARM, the 600 megs ARM board that we're using at the moment, is hardly working at all because all the decoding is being done by the DSP. The DSP can support a number of codec, and the ARM is basically sitting there and just rooting around with a basic operating system. So if you imagine a different application where maybe you're doing some number crunching, heavy maths, or maybe you're doing some serious stuff with a DSP, maybe it's some analysis or video recognition or something along those lines, when you do that, you're not crippling the performance of the RE2. It's still very, very capable, and we'll show you some applications later where the ARM's busy doing things as well at the same time as showing video like that. So that'll give you a flavour. So if I just stop that now, actually let's just kill it all together and close it down. So what I'm going to do now is just show you how easy it is to go from a relatively large screen over to some of the other screens we've got. In this instance, we're going to connect it back to a little 3.5-inch display. This one's 320 by 240 resolution. It's not the only ones we do. As you can see before, we've got the 5.7 quarter VGA. We've also got a rather nice 4.3, which is 480 by 272 resolution. Sorry. And also in terms of the smallish displays that we do, this is a 7-inch, which is 800 by 480. This one's actually got an RE2 mounted on it, and I'll show you running an application a little bit later. If you want something a little bit bigger than this, then instead of the personality modules that you can see on the back of here, we've actually got a new personality module called PM4, which allows you to connect the RE2 into much larger LCDs, effectively connecting up to something like the size of this 22 or 19 or 17, 15, 12, whatever you want. As long as it's got an LVDS interface, then the connection that we have between the RE2 is preserved to here, and then we provide this little Hirose connection so that you can then individually wire up the LVDS. We also put a touchscreen controller on here that will support 4, 5 and 8 wire touchscreens, so that you can actually get a much higher resolution on a larger panel if you want. There's very little limit in terms of what the RE2 can do on this side other than the basic resolutions. In terms of replay, 720p is where it's pitched at, so that's 1280 by 768. But we can actually drive resolutions up to 1920 by 1080, albeit at 30 frames a second, not 60. So it's quite an impressive little board for its size and its price point, and with little personality modules like this, incredibly flexible. We've got quite a few customers now who have actually made their own personality modules or incorporated in their board, so they can drive not only one LCD but several LCDs by splitting up the various resolutions and effectively recreating separate LCDs through the wide range of resolutions that the RE2 can support. So enough of that now, and let's put the RE2 back into driving the little 3.5-inch display. So as I said before, engineering pin, plug that one back in, plug put the 3.5-inch display in. You don't actually need to do this, but it's much easier to get feedback that you've programmed it correctly in the configurator. But there you go. We've already got the USB plugged in there from our previous work. So if I now switch it on and then we see the little green light flash, take out the engineering pin. Once again you can see that the LED is flashing approximately once a second. Then go into my laptop, load up the RE2 configuration utility. As you can see, go straight back into display configuration, and this one is that device there, 320 by 240. I can test the settings. Now you won't necessarily see a screenshot on there because previously we've been set it up with, I'll just save that one before I forget, we've put a splash screen on there that's much larger than this display. So what we do now is we go back over to the splash screen again, load the image, and if I now pick the Kingfisher that's small, I ask it to resize to something that suits the display, and you can see she's done that. Yep. So that's all set up. I don't want to change any of the other parameters. I'm happy with all of those. I can set that, and then I can close down the configuration tool. I can then either switch off, or in this time we'll just hit the reset button, and you'll see that you get the splash screen straight away, and then the appropriate time later you'll see the operating system come up. And again, the RE2's passed all the information over into the operating system, so it now knows that it's working on a much smaller device. Again, you saw Active Sync flash up there briefly as it made a connection with the PC. And away you go. Just as before, well actually this time I was going to connect the keyboard up, but we can actually start using it. Depending on which resolution you've worked from, you might actually have to recalibrate the screen, so I'll just show you how easy that is to do. So if I go into Control Panel, if I run down the side a little bit further, into Stylus, a little bit difficult upside down, so bear with me if I don't quite get it right. Recalibrate, so press, 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 press. And up here it says please enter the enter key if you want to save it. In this instance I'll just test that, press that. So close, and then I can, because it's a small screen and the dialog box is a little bit bigger, I can do OK on that, and as you can see I can then grab the various bits of data just to complete the picture. I go all the way back to the good old, you can see now because it's a touch screen it's actually said, well, do you want to use the keyboard for input? You can switch that function on or off. Now it knows we're going to play a file, it's switched it off. And again, full screen. And whilst it's not quite the experience of the HD set to my left, you get the idea that it can still run. Quite an amazingly flexible board and software package, I'm sure you'll agree.